You're probably looking at this title and going, wait a minute, who's Aubrey Huff? He's a retired MLB baseball player, and the reason I didn't put this on my sports channel is because, well, we're about to get a little political. So, just a fair warning, yeah, this guy's gone insane. Like, literally, really insane. Obviously, well, I don't know if it's obvious to you guys, but if you were to look at this guy's tweets and just, you know, in general, he is a big, and I mean big, Trump supporter. He's one of the few that hasn't come to reality that the election was a fair election, it wasn't rigged, and that Trump betrayed them by saying he was going to do this and that and the other, and didn't. It's just, he's still lost with that fact, and in the end, we get series of tweets from him that look just like this, for example. He had said, "I'm a proud, ignorant, hot, and rich cracker-ass cracker, and my white privilege has taken me far. After all, I only got to play 13 years in the MLB because I am white. I want to thank my mom and dad for being pasty." Holy shit. He's acting like he had a long career in the MLB because he was a white man, but there was plenty of people of different ethnicities and different color who had longer careers than you did. Derek Jeter, Alex Rodriguez, Hank Aaron, who RIP recently just passed, Frank Robinson. Those are all people of different color, different ethnicities that had longer than a 13-year MLB career. MLB, since Jackie Robinson came back, has not been known to be a particularly white sport. They've been very diverse, very mixed, letting free agents from Japan come over and play in the MLB, Dominican Republic, giving everybody that opportunity, and you think because you played 13 years in the MLB, it's part of your white privilege, which, by the way, Trump supporters don't believe, so basically you bringing up white privilege means that you believe it. You admit that, oh yeah, well, I played 13 years in the MLB pretty productively because I was white, and people, some teams only want to sign white people, at least that's what I'm getting from this. How about this one? I don't, sorry, I'm out of breath for some reason. He also says this was about Twitter banning Donald Trump. People have complaints that it breaks freedom of speech when really it's just because Trump broke the terms of service that they have on Twitter about inciting violence and bullying and all this stuff. Aubrey Huff goes on to say, "Twitter's actually become more fun the more conservative voices they cancel. Now I get to engage more with liberal crybabies." Actually, I think the people that are more happy about this are the liberals that you're calling crybabies, because now we have bad people off of the app that probably shouldn't be on there because they are just constantly lying and saying this stuff. Recently, the MyPillow guy, who was like an associate of Trump, just got kicked off of Twitter, not because of his so-called political beliefs like everybody says, but because he was, you know, buying into the lies and making the situation going on worse, and basically went to Trump's office and suggested martial law, which there was no reason to at all to suggest martial law for anything. So the fact that he thinks that it is the liberals that are crying about this, it's not. It's obviously the Trump supporters who are complaining about it, because really, I mean, this just seems like a ploy to be like, oh, I'm not upset about it, but deep down inside he really is. And then this is a response to the poll that says President Biden's first approval rating is 63%, and he just tweets it with this gif that says, lies. Actually, if you go and look at the facts, it's actually not. As a matter of fact, you look at here, you have Biden's conduct on the left, Trump's conduct on the right, and on Biden's conduct, on the left, you'll see on November 20th, right after the election, right after he won the election, he had 38% excellent, 24% good, 17 only fair, and 20 poor. But since he has been put in office on this is from January 21st, he's only gone down excellent once, has gone up by 3 on good and only fair, and his poor has gone down, which is a good thing because you don't want people to think you're poor. Donald Trump, on November 20th, had 13 excellent, 18 good, 14 only fair, and 54 poor. What has it done since? Well, his excellent has gone down to 8, which is not a good thing. His good has gone down to 15, which is not a good thing. His only fair has remained the same. There could be some things you can say maybe that you would, support Trump with, but not much. And his poor, went from 54 to 62, and Biden's first approval rating at 63% is actually higher than what Trump averaged throughout his 4 years of office, which he was lucky to get 45%. So, I'm sorry, Aubrey, but the facts state that Joe Biden's approval rating is at 63%. Everything really has been much higher than Donald Trump's. He's going up and up and up, while Donald Trump continued to go down, with his approval rating faltering to 34% in his last week of office. So, really, when you look at the facts, it's not lies. You just are like all the other Trump supporters and think that everything that doesn't talk good about Trump or says anything good about Republicans is a lie and just something that's trying to take a dump on them, apparently, because Republicans can do no wrong in the eyes of other Republicans. It's just a weird thing. He then goes on to say this about COVID-19, because a lot of people don't realize, right? Mail-in ballots. They've been a thing since 1887. They've been around for a long time. People have done them, and in every single election, they have counted mail-in ballots. And for the ones that aren't marked for the November 3rd date of the election, if they came in afterwards, and they aren't marked November 3rd, they do not count those. That's how it's always been. And sure, there's been minor occasions where they'll find a couple of ballots that were counted, that were, past the date, that they would end up going back and be like, oops, throwing them out, not counting them. And here, Aubrey Huff had the audacity to tweet, "Can we now all agree that the COVID-19 was used to create fear to lock us up in our homes in order to force mail-in voting so they could successfully cheat to get their guy in the White House? If you think otherwise, then you're a dumbass." First of all, Aubrey, no one said that the mail-in votes were just for Democrats. Republicans could have easily voted in the mail just as much as Democrats and would have been fine. I know some Republican people who voted in the mail. Does that mean anything? It means they voted for Donald Trump, but they did it through the mail, which is legal. And there is no proof that these illegal votes exist, because all the ones that, like I said, were marked past November 3rd were not counted, because it's not what you do here. And I do like this guy's comment below it that says, "Then why didn't more Republicans take advantage and also do the mail-in voting? A perfectly legal way to vote." I agree, but you want to know why? Because their president that they worship so much, or should I say former president now, thank God, said that it is inhumane to vote by mail and illegal, which is not true at all, which then not necessarily forced, but it steered his followers away from mail-in voting because they thought they'd be breaking the law. Thus, less people voted for Donald Trump by mail because he told them not to. That is why Joe Biden won, mainly for the mail-in votes, was because more people were willing to not go out during a pandemic and do it from the safety of their home and still have their vote be counted. It just works like that. It's always worked like that. Pre-coronavirus, the 2016 election, I can probably tell you there was a lot of mail-in votes for Donald Trump. And you want to hear a secret? His lawyer, Rudy Giuliani, voted by mail. And he was one of the ones that was trying to convince, hey, this election was taken fraudulently by mail-in ballots. And he voted by mail. I'm not making this up. And I'm done with that. I really am. And then speaking of Hank Aaron, going back to that, like I said, rest in peace to a legend, the true home run leader, because he didn't do steroids. Aubrey Huff says, "Why is nobody talking about when Hank Aaron received the coronavirus vaccine?" This was posted the day that Hank Aaron died. And obviously there was a lot of, he was such an inspiration and whatnot, and he really came in after Jackie Robinson and helped break the color barrier even more. He was so consistent throughout his whole entire career. Of course, holding the home run record for all those years. And yes, he did get the COVID vaccine. But you also have to realize, the man was 86 years old. As much as it pains me to say this, 86 years old is not young. It's not because he took the coronavirus vaccine that killed him. It's because he was old and sick already that, sometimes 86-year-olds just can't get over a common flu like a 22-year-old person like me can. It's just that simple. It's how life works. So he was an 86-year-old man that had an illness that he couldn't overcome, and he passed away because of it. This was not because of the vaccine. People dying from the vaccine is not the vaccine. It's just because they were ill from whatever they had, probably the coronavirus, and guess what? They passed away from it because nobody is vulnerable from this disease. My family just got over it. My mom had it, and I'm pretty sure my dad had it a little bit. I didn't have it, but I'm thankful that I didn't. But in seeing what it did to people and how bad it can get, it really made me realize this is more serious than it was. Not that I wasn't taking it seriously before, but once it hit my family, I was like, holy shit, this is definitely something that we have to look out for, because I could barely leave my room when my mom tested positive for it. She had to stay in her bedroom. My dad had to stay downstairs. I stayed up here. It was not easy to just stay in separate parts of the house, and you know what? It was boring, but at the same point in time, we also have an elderly 70-plus-year-old man, my grandfather, living in the house, who you don't want to get sick, because unlike us who are younger than him, he might not be able to get over the coronavirus, considering he's had health issues like strokes, diabetes, and all this other stuff. He's more prone to die from it than me or my mom or my dad. So that's just what it is. It has nothing to do with the vaccine. If you think it has anything to do with the vaccine, then you're dumb, and way to ruin a day where we were just trying to mourn the loss of a legend and not trying to be political with anything. Like, this did not need to get political. You did not need to mention a vaccine that didn't need to be mentioned in this situation. It was just someone of old age died, passed away, and we're all just trying to, for one day, come together, remember a legend like he should be remembered, but you had to ruin it with this tweet. Then we have this tweet, which, I mean, okay, I'll read it out and then I'll say what I have to say. It says, "What's stopping an athletically challenged male from becoming transgender and making it into the WNBA All-Star team?" I don't know what he means by athletically challenged, but okay. And I think what is mainly people's problem is that if, you know, we're talking about equality here, and if we really think that, you know, women can do anything and they can play a man's sport, then why is there a women's version of the NBA? If women are that great at basketball, then shouldn't they be able to play in the NBA regardless of the gender? I'm not saying, like, if they are transgender and they classify as a male, they can do that too if they want, but I'm just saying, why can't a female play in the NBA if she's supposedly that good at basketball? That's where people are like, you know, if we really want equality, then why is it that the NFL hasn't had any females, and why is it that baseball and softball are like the boys' version and the girls' version, and why is there a women's basketball association when they could just be playing in the NBA itself? We don't need that. And girls and women, or women's and guys' soccer, it's just, that's what we're getting at. The whole transgender thing, you can say what you want about that, but we're more worried about, like, you know, we want the women to be equal in sports, in a sports term, yet we still make leagues that are just specifically for the women and specifically for the men, which is basically like, oh, so that just means if you're a man, then you can't play with the women, and if you're a woman, you can't play with the men. It's just, it's still very, very, it's not equal in this sense. You're still breaking them up into groups that they probably shouldn't be broken up again. It's just, they're athletes. Let them be athletes, and if there's a girl that's good enough to go out there and smack the shit out of the guys in a football game, then why not let her play, you know, instead of being like, oh, you're a girl, you have boobs, you can't play, you know. It's just like, why? What's saying she can't? There's no rule against it, or at least there shouldn't be a rule against it, because if there is, that's discrimination, and that's terrible. Basically what I'm saying, for those of you that didn't really understand or think that I went around the whole transgender thing, it shouldn't matter what you identify as long as you can play the sport and are good at it, then you shouldn't have to be separated. You should be able to just go in and play with anybody. Then we have this gem, which is, at least with Trump, we knew who was making the decisions. With Joe Biden, we have no clue where he's getting his marching orders from. I mean, shit, he doesn't even know where he is the majority of the time. No, I think it's the other way around. With Joe Biden, we know who's making the decisions. It's him, because he's talking with everybody, and he's going to the meetings, and he's actually listening to the fucking doctors and scientists on a thing like this. Trump shunned the doctors, would rarely talk about anything, and when it was a serious issue, he'd throw his little monkey Vice President Mike Pence out there, and we really wouldn't know where anything is coming from. So really, it's the opposite. Now that Joe Biden's in office, I feel much more safer knowing who's making the decisions, someone who, isn't mentally ill enough to press the nuclear war button because he didn't win the election, apparently it was stolen from him. I'd rather have a president who's competent and understanding and knows what's going on than Donald Trump, who had no idea what he was doing and would just send his puppets out there to do his work for him. And then this one is not just Aubrey Huff, but it's a lot of people that I know keep mentioning this about the National Guard troops at the Capitol and the White House. Aubrey Huff says, "Why do you need 30,000+ troops for a virtual inauguration? Something isn't stirring the Kool-Aid." Don't know why he said stirring the Kool-Aid. I don't know. That could be a racist thing. I'm not going to even go there. The reason there's 30,000+ troops, or was 30,000+ troops at the inauguration, is because literally 2 weeks before that, there was a MAGA terrorist attack on the Capitol building to try to overthrow the government and basically end democracy. And after that, there was threats going on that, this is going to happen, and, threats of the incoming President Joe Biden and Vice President Kamala Harris. And might I add, they were literally saying, hang Mike Pence at the Capitol building on January 6th, and Mike Pence happened to attend the inauguration because at least he had some grace and heart to be like, we just need this peaceful transition of power, so I might as well show up and go to Trump's little shit show of a going away party. That's why 30,000+ troops were there. It was because there was people who continued, even after the Capitol was stormed, to threaten the lives of politicians. And yes, I get it. It was a virtual inauguration for the people at home who were watching, but there was a lot of political figures at the inauguration. And if you were to let someone in, just willy-nilly, shit could go down. So, yeah, it's more about the safety of the politicians than, this election has to be stolen because they have troops there when there shouldn't be. It's like, no, they should be there. I mean, when something like that happens and there's still threats being made weeks later about what's going to happen at the inauguration, you would think that they'd be better prepared, which they were for the inauguration, and I think it went well, and nothing bad happened. Thank God. So that's why there was 30,000+ troops at the inauguration. Nothing else. So, yeah, that was it. Sorry I ranted on with some of these, but that's just what it was. I had to get out my thoughts and basically just show you how stupid these tweets were. Oh my God, I respect this man's baseball career. I'm not going to sit here and say that because of his political beliefs, I think that his whole entire baseball career was just a fantasy to me now. No, me being an Orioles fan, he spent, 3.5 years in the organization, and he did some good things with us, including hitting for the cycle in 2007, leading the team in home runs and RBIs in 2008, just doing some good things. He won, a World Series with the Giants, I believe? He won 2 World Series championships with the Giants before he retired. He had a nice little career, but it's like the whole separating the musician from the actual person thing. You can still like their music but hate them as a person. I still respect Aubrey Huff as a baseball player and what he was able to do, but goddamn is he an arrogant little son of a bitch who doesn't know what's going on in the world, making him a douchebag of a human being. And that's my final thought on him. He's probably not going to see this video, not that I want him to anyway, because it'll probably come out like, look at this commie liberal, doesn't understand what I'm saying, and it's like, whatever, but he doesn't get it. He doesn't get it, and he's still one of those people hypnotized by the Trump conspiracy theories that the election was rigged, and that, we were going to get martial law right before Biden got elected, and they were going to take him and the pedo-Dems to jail, which, again, I don't know where the pedophile accusations are coming from. Joe Biden has literally never been accused of molesting a child. And if you show me that one video where he's there with his niece or granddaughter or whatever, and he leans over and his hand happens to move down, that wasn't him going, I'm going to touch her right here. Someone said something to him. He leaned in to hear better, and his hand moves sometimes. It's just what it does. Sometimes their hand moves with their body. I don't see that as, he molested this child, because that's not what happened, I can assure you. But yeah, that's it for me. Just stay safe out there. And again, with Trump supporters, we don't have to listen to them anymore. at least some of them have come to back to normal, but a lot of them are still on that Trump won the election and whatnot. And apparently there was articles of impeachment against Biden that this Marjorie Taylor Greene woman did, but that's probably going to go nowhere. We're more worried about the Trump impeachment February 8th. That'll figure itself out when it happens. But yeah, till then, just stay safe out there. Try to avoid Trump people, even if they're your own family. Just I'll say this: don't avoid them, but don't talk politics. Because goddamn, they just won't shut up. They won't let you talk, and when you present them with the facts, they just will deny it till the end. But yeah, wear your mask, stay safe, and I will catch you all in the next one.